r/ask Reddit. What was a loophole that you found and exploited the hell out of? Back in college we found a loophole with coupons at Kroger for General Mills cereal. If you bought 4 boxes of cereal, each box was $1. But if you did the self-checkout, you would be printed out a coupon for $4 off your next purchase. We used the loophole to buy about 300 boxes of cereal. We only spent $12 on all of it. We would have spent less, but we had to go to another Kroger once the manager got wind of us. We kept around 20 boxes for ourselves and donated the rest to the local food bank. They were so excited when we showed up with 3 vehicles full of cereal. Totally worth the $12 and all the time it took. I think you Robin Hooded Kroger. I worked in a call center during college. Our main performance measure was the number of donations solicited per contact. If the person didn't answer or hung up immediately, it didn't count against you. I discovered a bug where, if I blew into the microphone just as the phone started to ring, it would register in the computer system as a no answer and dial the next number. I rode this out for several months before I got tired of blowing my microphone for 8 hours a day and quit. Building on that, we had a person working in tech support where I used to work a long time ago. There was an employee who was low on his call numbers, so management did some research. They found that he never took any inbound calls, so they started looking at call histories and found that his outbound calls were only 5-10 seconds long. So, they started listening in on his calls. They found that he was having entire hour-long conversations about fixing various computer and internet related things with nobody. He'd make the outbound call, then hang up, and then pretend to be talking to the customer. Honestly, it sounds like more work than actually just doing work. There is something to be said for not dealing with the public. Bought a shitty Sega Genesis game. I think it was some flight sim, which was the crappiest game I ever played. So I took it back to Kmart and got told no refunds for opened games. Replacement for the same one if broken. Annoyed that I couldn't get my money back, I said it was broken and went for the replacement. They handed me a new copy of the game and my original receipt. Left and came back an hour later. I want a refund for this game. Here is my receipt and an opened game. Got my money back. Went and bought a different shit Genesis game. I was once the only person to show up to a Microsoft CRM event. Since I was the only person to attend, I automatically won the door prize of a Xbox 360 with a Kinect. The downside of this loophole was 3 long hours of talking with Ms. Product evangelists who were very disheartened and desperate to make a sale. I used to go to Ms. events at my college because they gave away free shrink-wrapped software which I would then sell on eBay. Back when Vista and Office 2007 launched, Ms. did an online event where you watched some dishwater presentations by their evangelists. For each product, there was a simple 2-question answer quiz at the end that if you got correct and put in your response quickly enough, you got a free, shrink-wrapped copy of the ultimate version of Vista and the professional version of Office. It was implied in the blurb that you could only win one or the other, but it turned out there was no mechanism in the system or rule in the terms and conditions that prevented you entering both competitions. So I did win both, and so did many others. I got a free as in greatest copy of Vista Ultimate and Office 2007 Pro. They were marked not for resale but only on the disc inside the sealed boxes, so of course many people resold them. I used mine though, for years. Last summer, I went up to northern Michigan with a buddy of mine. He's got a nice summer cabin in a small town called Escoda. It's a nice little place, with beautiful lake beaches and other fun outdoorsy stuff if that's your thing. But there's not an awful lot to do up there otherwise. We walked from his cabin into the town, and walked into a closing Kmart. I walked over to the electronics aisle, hoping to find some bargains on video games. Unfortunately, they only had one shitty game, Putty Squad for PS4, and they had an awful lot of copies. I checked the price. They were on clearance for $14, but were marked at an additional 90% off, bringing the price down to a measly $1.40 each. I did the sensible thing that anyone else would have done and bought 20 copies, even though I had no interest in ever playing any of them, nor did I own a PS4. Receipt for proof. After a weird look from the cashier, he removed the security labels from the games and sent me on my merry way with a bag full of sealed games I spent under $30 for. I brought them home with me, and traded them into GameStop one by one every time I went. getting approximately $7 per copy in store credit. I traded in such a high volume of copies, I was banned from trading in games to GameStop. Fortunately, it's a system-issued temporary ban to prevent people from loading off stolen goods. I just traded in my last copy last weekend when they were doing a 50% bonus trade in credit promotion, and got $10 in store credit. I made something like $150 in store credit total off of $28 plus tax. And even though this pales in comparison to some of the other posts in this thread, I consider this a victory and it makes for a funny story to tell. At my local movie theater, you could get a small drink for $2.50 or a large drink for $3.50, and large gets unlimited refills. Or you could get a Subi tea for $2.50. But they didn't give you the Subi bottle because they wanted to avoid any broken glass incidents. So they poured the Subi into the large cup. Boom. Unlimited large drink refills. I saved several dollars that way. Jesus. The large is huge. How do you finish it, let alone have to refill it? By sharing. Also, the large really is large. I'm genuinely concerned for the structural integrity of the cup. By accident I found a gumball machine. If you turned the dial really slow it would drop the gumball. Then you could dial it back just enough so the next gumball would drop into the tumbler bits. Then slowly dial forward again until it drops, etc. Got about 20 of them and stopped when I realized that I really didn't want to chew that much cheap gum. Reminds me of my brother and his friend who heard that if you pull a gumball machine off the rack it slides off the change compartment and opens it. So they go to the store and try it. Pulling the gumball machine does not do this. Instead, it opens the gumball compartment and spills all the gumballs on the tile floor. In the 80s Chuck E. Cheese's didn't shred the tickets you get out of their games and used to buy toys, candy, etc. My friends and I were biking one day behind a strip mall practicing our wheelies and jumps. We saw a worker throwing a garbage bag of tickets into the dumpster behind Chuck E. Cheese. We grabbed it and then started circling back about once a week. Garbage bags and garbage bags full of tickets. We were doing so well, one of my friend's parents got in on it. She would take the minivan behind her and have her kids load up. And this is why tickets are now shredded. I think I still have a huge stockpile of frisbees and stuffed animals in my parents' attic somewhere. Back in the day at my local Charles Cheese, they weighed the tickets. So we would have like maybe 500 tickets and go to the bathroom and wet like 10-20 of them and it would add maybe an extra 100 tickets. At a local arcade that had the ticket system, one of the employees left the machine unlocked and there were thousands of tickets just sitting there, nicely folded and everything. Needless to say they were grabbed. Former arcade manager here. The tickets vend out of the machines with a distinctive pattern embossed into them by the gears which feed them out. At one point during a busy day, someone stole a new bundle of 1,000 tickets I was about to reload a game with from a countertop when my back was turned. A few days later, a smirking kid of around 12 walked in with a suspiciously ungear-grinded bundle of 1,000 tickets he'd been saving up, despite them being consecutively serial numbered, and still all in one unbroken strip, and demanded his prizes. I told him I recognized him from my security video, which was a damn lie. I had no cameras, and asked him whether the police had been to his house yet to have a little chat with him. He turned bone white and ran out. I took the bundle of tickets, still in good shape, and loaded them into a game. My buddy and I snuck behind one of the machines at Jillian's when we were around that age and stole a full stack of tickets. Thought we were so clever when we tore them into random length strips to make it look like we won them at various games. The employee instantly called us out on the fact there was no dispense mark on the tickets and we booked it out of there so fast. Never had the balls to go back either because we thought they'd recognize us and call the cops. My college didn't put any dates on our student IDs. No graduation year. No expiration date. Nothing. As a result, I kept using it to get student discounts for years after I graduated, mostly the 15% off J. Crew discount. Penn State fixed that by making IDs fall apart after a year or two so they could charge you for a new one. I'm picturing a Mission Impossible style, self-destructing id. I hesitantly bought 3 Bitcoin just as they were going up. then sold one at their peak for the original cost of the 3. I've since spent my effectively free Bitcoin wealth on the only thing of value one can buy with Bitcoin. Reddit Gold. At time of writing, I have gilded 266 posts. Have you ever gilded an entire random comment chain in a small sub without letting them know why it happened? That sounds like fun. When vending machines first started accepting credit cards, you could swipe your card, select a drink, and when the little drink pod starts moving to collect your drink, hit cancel. The cancel button would stop the card transaction but not the machine, so you could get free drinks. It was a sad day when it stopped working. Certain vending machines, the one that has a conveyor belt, if you stop it with your hand you can get like 4 drinks for the price of 1. What few of those are still around have had their firmware flashed so that the whole machine shuts down if you try that. Back when Hollywood Video was around, they would guarantee new releases to be in stock. If they rented out all of their copies in the store, then they would give you a voucher for a free rental. I was in college at the time and would go into the store near my college campus at around 10 PM on a Friday night. There was simply no way for them to have any copies left by that time, so I would collect whichever vouchers were available. Rinse, repeat, cheaper than Redbox. In a similar vein, a Blockbuster Video near my house had a giant gumball machine near the cash that had special gumball-sized plastic orbs that instead had a free movie game rental. So for 25 cents, you had the chance to win a $4.99 rental. Well, this was around for my entire childhood till one day I walked past the machine and noticed it was almost empty, and it looked like the remaining ratio of gumballs to free passes was like 3:1. When they first filled the machine years ago, apparently the employees just tossed all the passes on top and barely mixed it up. I came back with a stack of quarters and for $10 I got like 17 free rentals and 23 gumballs. The rentals lasted a few months. The gumballs lasted a few days. There was a Papa John's coupon for 50% off if the official PJ Twitter retweeted you. I found the code looking through their website. I got half off pizza for a year and a half. Back in the day of flip phones. Can't do this anymore. I had a Razr which I ducking loved and learned that if I dipped the screen in water and put it in the freezer, freezing the water, the screen would stop working. But everything else continued to work fine. The sticker behind the battery was never touched and didn't change color. I would do this whenever my phone got scratched and then call up saying my screen stopped working. I would send it and they sent me a new one for free. Did it about 5 times. I discovered this because I left it out in the snow by accident once. It was awesome. Free phone loophole. Sweet. Those OG razors were awesome. I would prefer one to my post phone. I used to play a lot of backgammon in Yahoo games, and some people were real jerks when losing. Most commonly they'd stall the game by taking the maximum 5 minutes per move, hoping I'd resign. I learned a way to boot these people off Yahoo for as long as I wanted, by trying to log into their account. When I used the wrong password 10 times, the account was locked for 24 hours. They couldn't log in again until I chose to allow it. That's a fair way of dealing with those jerks. Worked at Walmart. Employees can't take advantage of mismatched prices. See 3DS XL labeled at $70. When they first came out, friend is with me, hand him money to pay for it. Get new 3DS XL for $70. Probably about 8 months or so ago, Kmart accidentally ran an online ad where the PlayStation 4 was listed for something like $200 cheaper than its MSRP. Since Walmart does price matching, people were taking that ad into Walmart and getting PS4s for really cheap. If you do really good the first 6 months at a job, you can coast for the rest of your time there. Years ago when online poker was a thing in the US, there were sites that let you look at statistics on other players. They'd give you like one free look, but I realized you could just manually change the player's name in the link and get unlimited free statistics from them. I used it a lot to see if someone was a good player or not before sitting down at tables with $20 plus buy-ins. This is a good one. I suck at poker, so I'd exploit the hell out of it. I was pretty good, but there were players on the sites that made a healthy living. 6 figures or more off of it. I didn't want to sit down with multiple people at a table whose life revolved around poker. I did enjoy playing them if there was only one of them at a table. It helped end the game sooner and multiple positions paid money. When I was younger, 12-13, I had one of those stupid timers on the computer that would only let me use the computer 2 hours a day before I got kicked. Found out that if you minimize the screen alerting you that you have ran out of time, you never run out of time. Best summer ever. Mine would lock internet access on my account outside of 3-5 PM. I would just change the time on the computer. I worked at sandwich shop when I was a young lass. We were allowed one free sandwich for the entirety of our employment there. Being an endless pit of hunger 16-year-olds are, I was determined to get as many free sandwiches as possible. If someone called in a phone order and never picked it up, the sandwich was fair game for employees after an hour. So I would text my friends to call in the sandwich I wanted and then never pick it up. Every day I got free sandwiches. It was amazing. If I didn't eat it, I would bring it to school the next day and sell it. I'm confused. So you worked there for 5 years and could only get one sandwich within that time? One sandwich a day? What? It doesn't really sound like you exploited it well though, because you still had to put in effort to make it look all glittery and good. And you only got a C. Sometimes it's about sending a message. I spent 5 years on a US Navy submarine. Every 2 years we would do a 6-month-long deployment called Westpac. On my second deployment I got boondoggled with a few other dudes. Basically, the boat goes out for deployment without us and we got sent to attend various training schools in Pearl Harbor for the first half of the deployment. Then catch a flight to meet the boat. So we watched the boat steam off and then caught a flight to Pearl Harbor. We show up with our orders to check in, but there was some miscommunication. Office personnel done ducked up. We aren't enrolled in any of our classes. We don't have barracks, meal chits, nothing. They had no idea we were coming. They give us something called a non-availability chit, which allowed us to stay at any reasonably priced hotel on the gov's dime. So naturally we found a palatial estate a block away from Waikiki. We show up for muster the next day and the PO more or less just told us, yeah, I don't want to see you guys again. Ever. We couldn't get a hold of our boat because it was underwater doing secret things. Once the yeoman got their shit on straight, they realized that our return plane tickets were already paid for and paperworked up. So they just said, duck it, we'll do it live. We were getting a per diem and having our housing covered by the Navy. Never had to muster for work. Never had to check in anywhere. On top of that, we were still collecting our normal pay and allowances, CPay, bar, etc. For 3 months. I grew a beard, got high as duck as often as possible, learned to scuba dive, did some surfing, had sex with a bunch of international tourists, went on pub crawls every weekend, did some hiking, lots of snorkeling, woke up on the beach a few times with no recollection of how I got there. Best vacation ever. Thanks, Navy. A long time ago, Hostess Chips was the major brand in Canada at the time. Had a Mario Bros promo. You got a bingo card in each bag of chips and every card was a winner. You had to scratch 3 of 9 areas and if you matched the icons you won. One of my friends figured out that using a tin can with a tiny hole punched in the bottom and then dropped down onto a 100W light bulb, you could see through the card and find the winning spots to scratch. This spread around town and a week later there wasn't a single bag of chips to be found anywhere. Sold out all over town. We all had garbage bags of open chips around. I won one grand prize, which was a Super Mario Bros game. The online community that played Diablo 2 created its own form of currency by trading valuable in-game items for rarings called Sodges, Stones of Jordan. For instance, if you wanted that rare plus attack power armor, you would buy it for 12 Sodges. Anyway, I figured out that there was a discrepancy between the worth of an Sodge in game and its actual monetary worth on eBay. Same with magic items, but in reverse. I would buy Sodges on eBay for cheap, go in game, and trade them for rare magic items. Then I would sell those magic items on eBay for way more than I paid for the Sodges. I made enough money to pay for college books and other living expenses. Blizzard tried to capitalize on this when they released Diablo 3, but they failed miserably by regulating the market too much. The system worked in D2 because it was only regulated by the supply and demand of the users. This is a perfectly legal and acceptable form of arbitrage. They've closed it now, but a couple years ago I discovered you could charge an American Express Serve card with a regular credit card by going to Walgreens, or maybe it was Rite Aid, I forget. I have a credit card with 1.5% cash back. Every month I put $10,000 on the Serve card. That was the limit, and then just paid my CC bill with it. I cleared $150 a month for free. Similar, but for a while the US Treasury was selling some stupid gold dollar coins with free shipping, so you could buy them with credit cards, then take them straight to the bank to deposit and rake in all sorts of free airfare or other credit card bonuses. In college I bought a pack of coupons for Hungry Howie's Pizza. It had 3 coupons for a free pizza, no other requirements. Just a completely free pizza. I would call and order my pizza, tell them that I had the coupon for a free pizza, show up and forget to give them the coupon every time. I always had it on me as a backup, just in case they did ask for it. But, out of the 3 coupons, they only asked for it once. I kept using them for months, until the coupons expired, which I am sure they were looking for. I ended up getting a few dozen free pizzas out of them, which was great for a college student. So I wanted to get cheap coffee filters online, as I knew I was going to need them for the foreseeable future and wanted to get a better price on them. So I found a site that had them at half price, $1.95 for 100 filters, usually $3.99 at the store, what I was paying at the store, and put them in my cart. When I went to check out, it asked me if I wanted to set up an automatic delivery to have them shipped every 2 weeks and they would reduce the price. I said sure, why not? After all, they were the cheapest I had found, and getting them every week would mean I didn't have to keep ordering them. So it brought the price down by like $1 for 100 filters. I was thrilled. Then it asked me if I wanted to join the Coffee Savers program for more discounts. I said sure. So after joining the Savers program, it brought the price down to $0. I was stunned. I still had to add my credit card, but I was never charged. So for 2 years I got 100 filters delivered to my door for free. Never got charged, not once. One day though, I got a notice that said they were going out of business and my free filters would end. I was sad, but the stockpile I amassed them lasted me about 2 years, and recently in the past 2 weeks I had to buy new filters. Life will never be the same. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.